All right. Welcome
Alright.
back dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Oh my God. Ang tagal na bro. When was the last
Eh,
time we had a podcast
ewan ko,
together?
mga 3 buwan, ganyan.
Tatlong buwan na lang ba? Ay, hindi.
Ewan ko.
That was in
Baka,
TV.
TV, oo.
Oh, TV, yeah. That was like
Oo.
a few months
Oo.
ago. And like everyone's saying they never thought they'll see you in Thai. And I said, like, man, there's no way he's gonna have an interview with me without the both of us being
Kasi
in Thai.
rinigaluhan ako,
You
gago to
look
eh.
great, man. You look amazing.
Yung ano lang, yung background lang nun. Sabi sa akin ni Richard, okay lang, casual tayo. Huwag ka na mag-necktie, okay lang yan. Pagdating ko doon, may napakagandang regalo para sa akin ni
No,
Richard. May
bros.
napakagandang necktie na binigay sa akin. Sabi ko, master ng gift. Hindi lang pala to master of podcasting, master din to ng gift giving. You're a true friend, my friend. Thank you.
No, brother, just to be clear about this, like, I'm Ilocano, but we are also very grateful people. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
extra expense, hindi naman na ayaw naman ng utang na loob, but we really reciprocate. It's very,
Uh,
very important in my family culture, bro. So believe me, it's the least I could do, and always more than happy to have you with us. But bro, ang dami nangyari since last time we had that like informal podcast.
mm.
So let's start first with the debate. Pag-usapan natin, you said we are 70% like 75%
Uh,
agreement. Can we go with before we go to Quezon, because I really like the piece on Spot of Manuel Quezon. But you also had a recent piece on Spot, right? Was that Spot also? Yeah, let's talk
Spot
about that.
PH.
Okay, so, Baduy yung mga French.
Well, yes, that's the first thing to be said. See, my favorite food critic, si John Bonnet, I read an article about him basically saying that the Parisians hate Michelin because Michelin is basically fuddy-duddy, and yung eating scene sa Paris is really more about the neo bistro, the small neo bistro. Nandun yung innovations nangyayari sa cooking. Hindi yun nangyayari doon sa 2-star, 3-star Michelin brands. Um, I'm okay with Josh Boutwood getting 2 stars. I'm very proud. But what made me even prouder, sinabi ni Chef Josh, ayaw niya magkaroon ng 3-star. At ito lang ata yung biggest natin na disagreement. You said on your podcast na gusto mo magkaroon ng 3-star. Um, that begs the question, sino yung magkakaroon ng 3-star? Naturally, dapat si Chef Josh kasi nakadalawa na siya, di ba? Pero sabi niya sa interview, I don't think Helm is ready for that and I don't think that's the direction I want to go to. Sabi niya, I'd rather maintain two for Helm and then sana magka-star yung mga ibang restaurants. And that is the best position actually on Michelin I've heard, yung position ni Chef Josh. Because what is a 3-star? A 3-star usually, by the time you get to a 3-star, sobrang mahal mo na. Kung tourist na lang yung pumupunta, pangatlo, parang yung level of refinement is a kind of refinement that reflects an old canon of French refinement, particularly fuddy-duddy saucing, The Michelin inspector will say like, are there 12 notes to your sauce as opposed to 8? Yung mga ganong klaseng ganon. And then usually those kinds of restaurants are not fun for the local people. They're usually fun for tourists. Give you an example. Dito sa amin, French Laundry, 3-star. You go to the French Laundry, the people who are there, the governor, Gavin Newsom, and then a couple of tourists, not the locals, right? And actually, our local newspaper hates the French Laundry because it's so boring. Because in order to maintain your 3-star, you have to keep doing what you've been doing, and that is essentially a barrier towards innovation. And Chef Josh, maybe he wants to play around. And if you want to play around, you don't want to get tied up with a 3-star and then have the pressure to maintain it kasi hindi ka na makakapaglaro. And you become like one of these old French guys like Thomas Keller who have lost creativity and who are basically just executing the old hits. O isang pag-amin, Richard, meron ako isang napakalaking luho. Kumakain ako sa 2-star and 3-stars. Hindi ako, wala akong luho sa kotse, wala akong luho sa damit, pero ang pinakamalaki kong luho ay ang tasting menu. And I must say that my last 3-star meal was in a place called Manresa by David Kinch. I did not have it was okay, but I had more fun in Metis in Manila than I did at David Kinch's restaurant because it
Yun.
was it was so bogged down by the techniques of number one, Kyoto Kaiseki, and number two, yung tinatawag natin na French Nouvelle. And I can tell our listeners what French Nouvelle is. But it so bogged down those techniques that it really became boring. Yun lang naman. So, when so actually, medyo populist yung piece ko sa spot. But there's also a kind of elitism there na parang I think sometimes the Michelin guide is stupid. Uh, like for example, they fucking screwed Mexico City. They gave 2 stars to this restaurant by Enrique Olivero called Pujol, which I've dined at. It's really, really, it's really boring. Their star dish is a mole. They give you a mole. Yung mole, yung sa Mexicano, 'di ba? Yung parang chocolate. Ilalagay nila sa isang plato doon, tapos titikman mo yung mole, magme-meditate ka on the mole, tapos sasabihin mo, wow, sarap. Tapos magdidip ka ng taco doon, tapos sasabihin mo, wow, the purity, ang sarap-sarap. Yun lang, yun na yung star dish nila. Magdidip ka in a mole. And that was their 2 star there. Meanwhile, they have a great restaurant there in the Condesa district called Esquina Común, where the flavors are explosive and where every dish is exciting. And that's a 1 star. I hated the 2 star. I love the 1 star. It's really like, I don't know, like as an eater, I don't trust it. I trust other lists. So yan, sorry lumabas yung elitism ko. I'm not as it's I tried the piece I tried to make the piece like populist elitist at the same time.
So basically, hunky dory, medyo ganun ang tingin mo sa rank. Is that what you're saying?
Ha?
Medyo hunky
But
dory, medyo
medyo
mambo number.
yung snubs, masama yung loob ko for Modan and Metis, which were really great restaurants. That got snubbed. They're both on sa select, nasa select sila, but they have no stars, right? So, yeah.
We'll talk about that very shortly. I just wanted to say you're really a good debater. I know our record is 1-1. I beat you in
Oh.
an opening championship. You beat me in one final, so we're good. But
Ganun ba?
you're a really good debater in the sense that that was like the angle I never saw you attack me at, like the 3 star thing. Because I just said that flippantly, sabi ko, para siyang pursuit of happiness, di ba? Parang,
Oh,
lagay mo yan, tapos just go for the higher. But
oh.
I'll guess what? I should have preempted that. Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, as someone who's, I'm not as social as you in terms of going to all the two, three
Iba,
stars.
hindi ko
Oh,
ilalaglag ko.
one
Alam
star
ko
lang
ang mga
naman.
luho mo, Richard, pero hindi ko ilalaglag.
So, so like looking at the story of Noma, for instance, in Copenhagen, or like a couple of other stories of three, it's really horror stories. Sobrang hirap i-maintain yung 3 stars or to get the 3 stars. So, absolutely 100% I agree with Josh. So, I said it just in terms of pursuit of excellence. Like we just want to have more 2 stars, 3 stars, 1 stars. So, galing, that was a very good rebuttal. You really
Yun lang naman.
that was a flippant point I made. I just wanted to say, ewan ko lang, I mean, speaking of the snobbery, a lot of people from Pampanga were not happy. A lot of friends from Iloilo were not happy and all. I don't know what happened there. Alam ko lang Manila
Madali lang yung
environs
paliwanag doon, Richard. Madali lang yung paliwanag doon. Ang coverage ng Michelin is Manila and Cebu. So
and
hindi siya covered.
environs and environs. Yeah.
Environ. So hindi considered yung Pampanga. Kunwari dito, for example, there are cities here na sobrang great food cities na walang Michelin. I think like Phoenix, walang Michelin dito. So it's not because like restaurant A in New York is superior to restaurant B. Wala lang reviewer sa Phoenix. So Michelin can only review a couple of cities dahil ang inspectors I think is around ang guess ng mga tao is 150 inspectors worldwide.
Right, right. Pero
Ngayon,
mahal, no?
ngayon
Expensive to
nasa
do
lista
yun.
nila is around 3,000 restaurants and they have to go back. So imagine mo, 150 people rating 3,000 restaurants and trying to expand. So hindi ka talaga kayang kailangan talaga i-limit mo yung scope mo. And also mahal. Kasi the restaurants don't pay for those meals. So the guide pays for those meals. And so kailangan ng kailangan ng money for revenue. And that is why for Michelin to expand to your city as what happened dito sa Pilipinas, you have to pay the guide. Kasi before, yung guide, they would make money by selling the guide. And they would make money because yung guide would advertise the tires of Michelin. Pero ngayon, sobrang dami na ng rene-review, sobrang mahal na ng mga restaurants, napalugin na yung Michelin with that model. In order to sustain the money, kailangan ng bayaran ng mga cities. So actually, Cebu and Manila or DOT, whatever entity, binabayaran nila yung Michelin to review the city. Does that mean the guide is biased? No, 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 no. Hindi yun suhol kasi our DOT pays them so that they review our restaurant. Wala nang masasabi yung DOT natin doon sa rating. Objective na yon, di ba? So, for yung mga nagsasabi na corrupt yung process, hindi corrupt yung process. The payment is for them to be able
Just
to
the
enter the
logistics to
city.
come over.
Pero
Yeah,
walang sukol for the actual rating. Oh.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad that you're explaining that, no? Paano ko ma-explain? Kasi, yes, sobrang konyotic tong conversation natin. Even pretentiously pa French, although you're saying baduy sa mga French ang mga ang Michelin. Because I knew Michelin as a car racing fan nung bata pa ako. So that's where I saw yung mukhang Ghostbuster, ano nila. But
Mm.
But the thing is, kasi tama si Anthony Bourdain, food is a national pride identity issue, right? It's your grandma, right? It's your
Yeah.
ethnicity. So very sensitive yun at Pinoy pride talagang involved it. And for me, it was just scandalous going to Taiwan, going to Thailand, going to like all around the world. Lahat sila may Michelin star and parang Philippines was
Tayo wala.
out. Yeah, exact. Parang I know it sounds shallow, but for me, us just not being on the map was just scandalously enraging. Parang as just a
Mm.
Filipino patriot, hindi ko siya matanggap. And I felt it just fed into this stereotype of Philippines, hanggang Jollibee sila. I mean, Jollibee is great, but it's fast food, right? Like, it's not, or ang Filipino food is blah, blah, blah. Parang, the joke here is that, kayo ba yung English ng Southeast Asia, right? Like, the English people jokingly say that. I said, no, we're not. We're like the Portugal that was overshadowed by the Spain, right? But we're
Mm.
just as good as the rest. So, ako, maybe shallow, maybe very practical. But for me, isn't this a good thing na at least yung Department of Tourism natin may konting saysay, whoever brought them over? Kasi it was a
Actually, 'di ba kasi
logistical
industrial, 'di ba ang push natin industrial policy?
Yeah, yeah.
Ganun
We'll
din
go to
yun, 'di
that.
ba?
But we still need the tourism. You still need
Hindi,
to.
pero hindi, ang push natin industrial policy and yung broad logic nun is that the government should support.
Ah, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so yung sabi ng mga tao, for example, I find this argument very cheap, Richard, no? Yung parang, bakit ang laki-laki ng binayad ng Department of Tourism sa Michelin habang marami tayong ibang problema na pwedeng bayaran ng gobyerno? That's not the way finances work, right? If you think it's a priority, you should spend on it. And if you think that ayuda to the poor is a priority, you spend on it, di ba? Balikan natin yung episode ni Richard with our friend Jesus, 'di ba? Na that's not how money is made, na every time gumastos ka, kailangan mo mag-taxes, ilalagay mo dito, na if you spend something here, mawawala ng pera yung tao doon dahil limited yung funds. No, no, we have our own currency and we can pay in our own currency and we can print in our currency if we deem that something is worthwhile. That's how finances work. 'Di ba?
you're
So sa akin
bringing
napaka
right away to the meat of our discussion, to the meat of
Oo.
our discussion. But before we go to that, really yung issue ng corruption, industrial policy, which is really, yung, basically, ito yung adhikain natin ngayon, di ba?
Oo.
Gusto ko lang balikan yan because you raised another important point. Kanina dun sa isang discussion natin with sila Kristan and Mark Gambo, I raised this point, no, yung we need real food critics. Kasi kung ayaw mo ng Western validation, although absolutely we don't need Western validation, practical lang ako on this Michelin star issue. Um, the reality is that the Philippine food critic scene really needs an upgrade, especially after we, again, you know more than me. I'm sure there are many food critics I don't know more about. Pero for me, Clinton Palangka was really the gold standard, and God bless his soul, right? I was going back. He also did Oxford pala, no? I mean, he's really
Oh.
a refined guy. Like, just his writing is so elegant. If you read his book, di ba, yung story na ano tong authentic na sinasabi natin? Yung Jollibee spaghetti nga, spaghetti is Italian. Tapos ginawa natin completely Filipino. There's nothing pure about food, right? It's about culture, it's about
Tama.
adaptation. Or sina Aguinaldo, if you look at their menu when they declared the Philippine Republic, it was all French food. Like it doesn't
Mm.
mean you're anti-Filipino or unpatriotic. It's just that's the gold standard for culture and refinement. So I love that unapologetic, very refined way. But now, bro, I mean, I know in your feed I reshared some of them. You highlighted some of the great food critics we have. Yun lang, ang problema, ang dami mga vloggers na trashy, to be honest, na either takot mag-criticize kasi ayaw mag-bash, or worse, baka may inducement, kaya kung ano-anong pinagsasabi nila. Kaya I don't watch any of the food vloggers, very few of them. There's just
Oo.
one friend of mine or so. But I don't know, and what do you think about it? Because you're
May
the more
tinanong
culture
ako, may
refined. Yeah.
tinanong ako na former food critic actually na Pilipino. Sabi ko, itong mga vlogger ba na to, would you consider them critics? Sabi niya, hindi. Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi napakasimple eh. May financial relationship with yung brands na endorse sila eh. And so mahirap yon. So what we really need are independent voices who help who guide the city. So for example, like bakit dito wala ganong kumakain sa French Laundry even if it has a 3 star? Kasi our food critic just bashed the French Laundry for having a stick up its ass eh. Sa New York, equivalent din, 3-star per se. Thomas Keller also. White man, arrogant white man, has been resting on his laurels for years. Michelin loves it. Tourists love it. But why don't the New Yorkers go there? Because the New York Times hates it. Like the New York Times doesn't or ignores per se, right? So if you and you know, like if you're a New Yorker, you can go like I don't care what Michelin says. Like the New York Times is extremely credible, right? The New York Times, it's the New York Times. If Pete Wells of the New York Times says, don't bother, like who cares what Michelin says? But because Pete Wells is Pete Wells, right? Or Ligaya Michan is Ligaya Michan. These are the eminent food critics of the New York
Institution sila.
Times.
They're
Oh,
institution in
institution
themselves.
sila. Oh, I mean, I mean really like who is Michelin to tell somebody like Solejo here in the San Francisco Chronicle or Ligaya Michan or Pete Wells of the New York Times, who is Michelin to tell them na mas magaling sila? Wala. So these people can safely ignore Michelin because they've developed yung architecture na yon. And yung diferensya nun is, Pete Wells, Ligaya Michan, Solejo, Mackenzie Chung Fagan, John Bonet, some of my favorite critics, they're not just going to give you a number. Diba? They're going to give you a long article explaining yung cultural meaning ng restaurant, what's comparable to it, what it represents about the place, ganyan yung ganyang class sense of place, and then you start to develop a relationship with them. So ako, I personally have a relationship with these critics, if dito sa amin, if
Oh my
Mackenzie Chung
God,
Fagan
God,
no, no, no,
you're
not
something.
personal, sorry, culinary
No,
relationship
no, no,
pala, sorry, hindi ko
I know,
sila
but
kilala.
like, um, again, this is not to like romancing you, but like, dude, you're really a culture refined guy. I feel very, despite
Hindi,
my
hindi.
Oxford man pretensions now. I mean,
Hindi
like,
ko sila, hindi. Pero maganda kasi magkaroon ng relationship with them, di ba? Kasi para ka nakikipagkaibigan sa kanila. Dahil, kunwari, si Mackenzie Chung Fagan, kumain siya sa isang restaurant. Like, I just discovered yung local critic namin dito sa Bay Area. Meron siyang Lao restaurant na 30 minutes away. Medyo malayo yun for California standards. Kumain siya doon, tuwan-tuwa siya. Pumunta ako doon, kumain ako doon, natuwa ako. I spent $20. It was super cheap. Pero parang sobrang tuwa ako and I felt like I got to know her a bit better because we were eating the same thing. And it's a wonderful experience that I wish Filipinos would have. And I used to have that with sa Pilipinas. I used to have that with Doreen Fernandez and
yeah.
Clinton Palangka. Dahil nga ginagabayan nila yung pagkain ko. And I can only wish that Filipinos get that. I know there are people there naman. Like si Erwan Heussaff, magaling naman si Erwan Heussaff eh. And
Yes,
alam mo,
absolutely. And
parang
my mass
pag may
appeal.
sinabi si Erwan Heussaff na masarap, parang usually, like, parang itatry ko naman eh. Oh,
But he's not a writer, diba?
he's not a
I
writer, yun
think
lang.
yun
Oh.
nga, like, how should it, like, Erwan is perfect, right? So he's chef, he has mass appeal, he's the husband of someone even more famous, as he jokes.
Oo.
He won the Beards Awards as that best.
Oo.
So he ticks all the boxes. Ewan ko, siguro, baka this is our, I don't know, s snobbery, but iba pa rin yung critique as writers, di ba? Like with one sentence, they can kill your career.
Mm.
Yung ganyan level of
Oo.
power. Na meron pa rin. You can still find them in New York
Mm,
Times. You can
mm,
still find
mm.
them, I don't know, in Le Figaro or some of the top newspapers in France or something like that. Like, I think hindi pa rin nalaos yun, no? Andun pa rin yung power of the pen, eh.
Sobra. Sobrang lakas. I was just again talking to a former editor ng isa sa mga food magazine sa Pilipinas at sabi niya, yung New York Times, a lot of their culture critics, parang pinapag-tiktak na, sinasara yung beat, papalitan yung beat. Pero yung position ng food critic at saka yung wine critic, andyan pa rin, hindi nila masara kasi napaka-importante. Si Ligaya Michan, who's actually Filipino, di ba? So yung lead food critic ng New York Times kaya Filipino, si Ligaya Michan. We should be proud of that, by the way. That's amazing. Like the lead food critic of the New York Times is like plus Filipino heritage.
Oh,
And then yung
wow.
wine
I had
critic nila
no
si
idea.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, 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 yeah. Si Ligaya Michan.
Is she planning to come to the Philippines food scene or something like that?
Hindi
Like,
ko nga alam eh, pero new food critic to ng New York Times si
baka
Ligaya
kailangan
Michan.
natin push because
Oh.
there are a couple of very good Filipino American writers, New Yorker, New York Times.
Mm.
Is there a renaissance of Filipino Americans becoming very prominent in the cultural scene, intellectual scene in the US? Because we're already superpowers in the healthcare sector, nurses, doctors, etc., education given the end. But in terms of cultural, intellectual power, you think the Filipinos are stepping up or finally being recognized to be more correct about it?
Oh, I mean, yung mga, yeah, yung mga ganyang klaseng big publications, like actually, ngayon, just talking to you, I just dawned on me nga, like, si Ligaya Michan, I just checked, Michan grew up in Hawaii, the child of a Filipino mother and
Ilocano.
an English
Proud
father.
Ilocano background yan. Pag
Yeah,
Hawaii.
yeah, yeah.
Must be
And now
Ilocano.
Mishan is the author of the book Filipinx Heritage Recipes from the Diaspora, and
Boom.
has been a food columnist for the New York Times. If I'm not mistaken, she is now the lead food critic, if not one of the lead food critics. So yung ganyan, though that's kind of amazing for me, and I hope that Filipinos will take inspiration from that and write more local criticism. Yung napansin ko, meron ako mga hindi ko lang papangalanan kasi
Sure, sure.
I might put them on the spot. But there are a couple of Filipino food writers sa Pilipinas na sobrang love ko. But they can't make money out of criticism. So yung isang kilala, I think she
Yun
writes
din eh,
copy
yeah.
for restaurants now. So food writer pa rin siya. She writes copy for restaurants. Pero employed na siya by restaurants. She can't be a critic and an advocate for
Yeah.
consumers anymore, di ba? Can you blame her, Richard? I mean,
The yun nga,
di
like
siguro.
again, like some of the persons we mentioned a while ago, they come from very elite backgrounds, so probably they could
Mm,
afford to do
mm,
it in the fully independent sense of the word. Kaya nga sabi ko,
oo.
wish ko maging sobrang mayaman para I don't have to depend on anyone just to pure art, right? Like yun yung wish ko para I can do, I don't know, kickboxing in Phuket and then go and
Oo.
write a novel, right? Yun ang dream ko sa buhay, diba? So I'm 100% kumbaga, I'm a partisan of that kind of practical
Mm,
mindset to do the great things.
mm.
Pero nga, like how can we create like wala Patreon, something like that? Is there like a way to
Oo nga eh.
fund
Si,
this kind
kaya
of great people?
dati si Clinton sobrang galing na food writer, di ba? Si Clinton, naalala ko, kumakain kami sa Makati no, nagre-review siya for the Inquirer. I thought that he had a company card or something. Clinton would pay for the meal. Siya yung nagbabayad nun. So, you need to be kind of in the, and I don't know what the case was with Doreen Fernandez kasi I never had the honor of dining with her. Pero parang I suspect na baka si Doreen lang din yung nagbabayad ng sarili niyang meals, di ba? Which is not the case if you're like the food critic of, the San Francisco Chronicle, the New York Times, di ba? May company card ka, ikaw magbabayad niyan.
So we need to create a professional culture, no? I
Mm.
think yung pa-vlog. I have nothing against vloggers and all of that. I'm a vlogger in my own right, right? But my
Mm.
point is you need pros, right? To do it this way.
Oo.
We're talagang world class.
Oo.
World class.
Oo.
Before we transition to the important issue we want to discuss, which is this issue of discourse over corruption at saka importantly also this issue of industrial policy, which is very close to our heart. Let me first say belated happy birthday and congratulations on your new book, bro. So you were not far away. You were just in Germany. So there was a moment whereby Zaldi, Harry, Leloy, Ricky, we were all in this one beautiful continent.
Oh, grabe, no? Tapos yun, isa pa, yung sa Germany, di ba? Meron na namang mga hirit na bakit pinopondohan ng Philippine government to. Ang dami namang pwedeng pondohan na iba sa Pilipinas. Ganun na naman. And again, we go back dun sa issue of simplistic idea of funding. That's not how funding works. If you believe in it, fund it. And then if you really believe in other things, fund that as well because you have your own currency. Lalo na if you're spending in local currency.
Wait, so
Go
so
back
what
to
was
yung
going on
view
there? Yeah.
go back to yung View from Manila episode where piniliwanag ni Jesus kung paano ba talaga nagkakaroon ng pera ang gobyerno.
Actually he has a new paper coming up. I think na-inspire siya dun sa isa na naman sinulat kong on the issue of yung three narratives of Philippine politics. I mean, I literally wrote that 30 minutes before going out. It's like, how can I write this fast? Kasi I'm very strict with my Sabbath day. Like, in 1 hour, ganyan. So I have to finish it. And then, like, it just came out of nowhere. Yung mga three major narratives which I want to discuss with you.
Oo,
I
ang
just,
ganda nun.
but I want to ask you, bro, like, how was the experience launching the book? Patricia was there, super, super. I saw a lot of resonance with her intervention on, caring for the lives of countless journalists and truth speakers in Gaza, right? Who were silenced and their silence.
Napanood mo yun? Napanood mo yun?
Masakit siya.
Natouch ka?
Yeah, I
Natouch ka?
think, yeah, I think I'm proud of her for doing that. I know
Mm.
that was tricky. Germany is a country very familiar to me. I know about, their culture and history. We had a conversation with the former German chancellor just last year on this issue of Gaza. So I understand German politics and culture on the issue of Israel and all. It's a very sensitive issue. So I think it was very brave of Patricia to do that. I mean, ikaw, bro, what was your read of the whole Frankfurt country of honor situation?
So, paliwanag natin bakit may mga nagbo-boycott. Kasi, aminin ko, kinonsider ko rin naman mag-boycott, di ba? Because yung Frankfurt Book Fair has been generally more supportive of the Israeli/Zionist cause over the Free Palestine cause. Maraming mga issue dyan. For example, merong Palestinian author na dinisinvite. Uh, they awarded Masha Gessen, a lot of, not Masha Gessen, si Anne Applebaum, at a time when Alan Applebaum was kind of cheerleading for Israel. So sabi nila napakalinaw nung dynamic, for example, na very pro-Israel. So a lot of people boycotted. And then of course we have the broader issue of the German government funding the state of Israel. Although for me, like, it's weird for me to
Giving
boycott.
weapons. Let's be clear.
Yeah, it's
Weapons.
weird for me to boycott the German government given that I pay taxes to the US government, di ba? Which is, leading in terms of
Number one,
funding
like support.
Israel. Oh, number one. So, naintindihan ko yon. Pero I think I would request dun sa mga tao na nagli-lead ng boycott to think about it as a two-front strategy. Kayo yung bino-boycott nyo siya, binibira nyo sila from the outside. And there were a lot of Filipinos there na binira sila from the inside. Like for example, Patricia, talagang nakita mo may mga nag-walkout sa kanya doon, ng mga German. May mga nagalit sa
Oh,
kanya ng mga
wow. Oh,
organizer.
that he was
Oo.
brave then. Really brave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ako, kami meron kasing main stage doon. Tapos dahil guest of honor yung Pilipinas, merong Philippine Pavilion where there were talks also dun sa Philippine Pavilion. So, hindi naman ako pang main stage, 'di ba? Pang Philippine Pavilion lang ako. So, dun sa Philippine Pavilion, pag nagfi-Free Palestine kami doon, may man nag-walk ako talaga from the Philippine Pavilion.
Na
Na
Germans,
puti.
na Aleman.
Oh, halata mong German, puti. The moment you said something Free Palestine, aalis sila. So, kita mo naman na talagang we were able to bring the fight to them in a way. And then merong panel doon actually on Palestinian writers. Tapos doon sa Philippine Pavilion. And then nagtaas ng kamay si Howie Severino. Tinanong niya, what do you think about the boycott? Sabi niya, for some of us, we believe in, taking the dialogue to them. And malaki yung pasasalamat nila sa mga Pilipino because we made them feel at home doon sa pavilion natin. A former, actually, culture minister of Palestine was there.
Palestinian Authority.
Oo, mas malaking pasasalamat niya sa mga Pilipino dahil feel niya yinakap ng mga Pilipino doon yung mga Palestino. And so it was very touching for me to see this moment of Filipino-Palestinian solidarity within what some people would call perhaps a hostile space. Pero kaya nga naging mas mahalaga na merong mga Pilipino para yumakap sa kanila doon eh. Kasi feel nila dehado na sila doon eh, kailangan nila ng kakampi. So I'm not condemning those people who boycotted. I considered boycotting myself. Pero sana maintindihan nila na iba-iba yung strategiya natin kahit na pareho yung layunin natin.
Absolutely. And how was your book talk?
Hindi natuloy
Congratulations
yung
again. My
hindi
God, here
natuloy
we
yung
are.
bukto ko dun kasi hindi natuloy yung bukto ko kasi hindi sure kung darating on time. Dumating siya on time pero hindi natanggal na sa schedule.
So there
So
was
I would
a
say,
bit of
yeah,
drama
wala na.
there. I
Wala
see.
na. Wala
But
na.
you're gonna launch
Hindi
it in the
sketch.
Philippines soon? You're gonna launch it soon?
Sana,
Next month?
sana.
Inshallah, God willing, inshallah? Next month?
Sana, Professor Jesus Felipe, kung nakikinig dito, pakasalasan. Hindi, hindi.
Yeah, LaSalle would be great.
Oo,
Yung
oo.
Celebrate ng LaSalle is a beautiful place.
Mm,
It's a wonderful
oo.
place to launch it. I'm sure many
Mm,
people are looking forward to your
oo.
book. So, speaking of your book, I think
Ikaw, Richard, ano nabalitaan mo, bro, about yung Palestine, apart from sa
Honestly,
Palestine
yun nga,
and
like I
Filipino
didn't I
solidarity in
didn't know
Frankfurt?
much eh. Yun nga, like I did contribute also to a book chapter about Philippine soft power and also someone just messaged me, etc. Like blah blah blah. But I was in no position to join that event. And my mind was still at the ICCS because I was supposed to be in ICC just before flying here to Oxford and na-delay yung court ni yung hearing ni pre-trial hearing ni Digong, but there was still uncertainty around it. So I was a bit distracted. And then when I saw a picture of you with Mariasa and all, and then I saw Patricia, like, oh, okay, wow, interesting. Things are
Mm.
happening and all. Did you meet your other favorite Senator Legarda? Nag-hi ka ba sa kanya?
Hindi ako naka pipitsugin lang tayo. Hindi ako si Richard D. Darien. Hindi ako mahihain ako na tao eh.
Well, mayan probably more mayan than me, but definitely mas big time ka sa akin. Sinisnub lang yata niya ako eh. Pag
Ah,
nagkikita yata kami, hindi ka parang, I don't know you, who you,
ganun
nagagano'n
ba?
kaming dalawa, who you ka rin. No, but in fairness to her, I think
Ang balita ko, malakas sa kanya yung kaibigan natin si Gideon Lasco. Si
Gideon is
parang Gideon.
malakas sa lahat, pare. Like
Malakas
everyone,
si Gideon.
Lenny loves Gideon. Everyone loves Gideon. Gideon's an amazing. I think Gideon is probably the nicest public intellectual sa ating lahat. No, I think we're very lucky. I mean, I'm hoping to finally have him here on our little show. Also, we really have to have a sit down. God
Mm.
willing, next month. No, so let's do it in Manila,
Mm.
all of us together. Because Gideon, I really suggest people to check him. I'm hoping he'll get back again. On one of the broadsheets. God willing, he'll be back in one of the.
Gusto nga raw niya, parang gusto naman niya, medyo nag-hate si Gideon pero gusto niyang bumalik. But he's one of the voices na talagang binabasa ko,
Great.
including you. Oo.
He's great. He's great. Like, exactly parang inisip namin yung Philippines is not a small nation. So, paras he's just like us, no? He's a critic of what we call negative exceptionalism. Yung opposite ng kupal exceptionalism na ibang bansa na tingin nila sila lang great. Tayong baliktad, eh. Feeling natin tayo lang may problemang ganon, which is a
Mm.
perfect segue to our discussion of issue of
Yeah.
corruption, right?
Mm.
Obviously, lahat tayo, ethically, morally, we are against corruption and all of that, 100%. Um, but the question is, okay, so what? What is the public policy implication here, right? The moral implication is clear, but what is the public policy implication? So, Lele, actually, when I asked someone to help me with making shorts, sabi ko, shucks, ang galing pala ni Lele nag-explain. Hindi ko napansin at the moment. Hindi, I was just like listening to you and and then nung pinanood ko siya, like, galing ni Lele, ang ganda nung setup niya, may predicate, may ganon. Galing, galing. So, ulitin mo, like, so, what is your stance on this discourse around corruption in the Philippines? I think there's no debate about presence of corruption, but you seem
Mm.
to have a problem with the discourse over corruption, which is like 100 year parang 100 years of war on the Filipinos, parang 100 years of Orientalist, like dismissal of Filipinos, which we internalize, unfortunately. Do you want to
Mm.
talk that? Because related
Oo,
yun.
meron kasi talaga siyang kasaysayan yung bakit sa pagtingin natin na ang number one problem ng Pilipinas ay corruption. Kasi nung pumasok yung
We're
mga
number one
Amerikano,
corrupt tayo. I mean, we
or
always
number one
think we're
corrupt.
the worst people when it comes.
Mm. So remember, no, pumasok yung mga Amerikano late 19th century, early 20th century, di ba? Anong diskurso sa US nung time na yon? Yung diskurso sa US ngayon was antitrust, anti-monopoly, uh, local bosses, di ba? Tammany Hall, which was supposed to be a hive of corruption. So yung political analysis ng US nung panahon na yun was all about corruption, di ba? Yun yung debate ng progressive era. Nagkataon na nung pumasok sila sa Pilipinas, they looked at us through the lens of yung sarili lang progressive politics and nakita nila rent-seeking, corruption, patronage. So they read our politics in light of that. That was the first reason. That's not so sinister, Richard. That's just, seeing the lens through the
Human nature.
lens, the lens you're comfortable with. What was more sinister was naging useful to para sa mga Republicans because remember the Democrats did not want to hang on to the Philippines. They didn't want to be an imperialist. Pero yung mga Republicans, they wanted to hang on to the Philippines. Now, ano yung logic ng Republicans for hanging on to the Philippines? Dahil hindi pa sila handang pamunuan ang sarili nila. And their argument for that was, tignan mo, kung handa sila pamunuan ang sarili nila, why are they so corrupt? So lahat ng diskurso galing sa mga Republikano nung early 20th century ay ukol sa korupsyon ng mga Pilipino. So kung ikaw ngayon ay historiador, inaaral mo yung panahon na yun, tinitignan mo yung mga dokumento na yun, binasa mo yun, yung isusulat mo tungkol sa Pilipinas, tungkol sa panahon na yun, ay corruption din. And then from there, itatahi mo na, sasabi mo, oh, pareho yan doon sa nakikita natin ngayon. Without ever bothering to think, teka, bias tong mga sources na to ah. And the bias, of course, bias in itself doesn't mean na mali, right? Because good information can come from bad people. But in this case, actually, the bias meant it was actually wrong. So, for example, yung Philippine National Bank, ito, very interesting to. So, kapapanood ko lang ng Quezon. I'm not blaming the producers for this,
Let's
kasi
do
hindi
this.
nila
Let's
alam yung
do this.
information. Ito, kasi alam ko may kasaysayan ako of debating with Gerald Tarog. Bati na kami ni Direk Gerald. Hindi ko binabanatan si Direk Gerald. Direk Gerald, magkaibigan tayo. Ah, actually, kagabi lang nag-hi sa akin nag-hi sa akin si Direk Gerald sa Instagram. So, hindi ako nakikipag-away kay Direk Gerald. Doon sa sine na Quezon, may scene doon na gumuho daw yung Philippine National Bank dahil corrupt yung mga Pilipino. In particular, Osmeña. Tapos nag-aaway si Quezon at saka si Osmeña. Di ba sa sine nagmumura si Quezon, di ba? Tangina ni Osmeña, tapos tangina ni Wood, ganyan. Kasi Wood was blaming Osmeña, and then sumabit na rin si Quezon for the collapse of the Philippine National Bank. Dahil corrupt yung mga tao ni Osmeña. In particular, yung head ng Philippine National Bank, si General Venancio Concepcion, whom the Americans called the crony of Osmeña. Pinakulong yun si Concepcion ni Wood. Siguro hindi na rin nakaangal si Quezon dahil, basically, he was trying to ensure that Osmeña would be the fall guy. So nakulong to si Venancio Concepcion. Ano kasalanan ni Venancio Concepcion? Venancio Concepcion, kasalanan niya, nagpautang siya sa kumpanya ng asawa niya. Ginamit niya yung Philippine National Bank para pautangin yung kumpanya ng asawa niya. Now, was that the reason why the Philippine National Bank failed? According to Wood, that was one of the reasons. But actually, the Philippine National Bank failed temporarily dahil may crisis noong 1920, hindi dahil kay Venancio Concepcion.
So
At pag
exogenous
may
yung reason.
crisis,
Exogenous
exogenous
yung
yung
kendo
reason.
dyan.
Exogenous yung reason. And then, ito yung hindi nakita ng Quezon, and you can't blame Quezon kasi na-discover ko to 5 years ago lang and hindi pa lumalabas yung research. Tinignan ko yung sa Harvard, yung Wood Forbes report. Napakalaking bagay ito dun sa Quezon movie. Yung Wood Forbes report na kinundinan ni Wood at saka ni Forbes yung pamamahala ng Pilipinas. Pumunta ako sa Harvard, tinignan ko yung early drafts ng Wood Forbes report. Wala pa ata nakatingin ng early drafts na yun. So, if you look at the early drafts, alam mo kung ano yung mga tinanggal nila doon. Alam mo kung anong tinanggal nila doon? Merong isang section doon na pinapaliwanag nila na yung pinako-corrupt hindi mga Pilipino, kundi
Mga
mga
Amerikano.
Amerikano. Oh, hindi linagay sa final report. So, ito kaya sinasabi hindi ako nakikipag-away kay Gerald kasi you can't blame Direct Gerald for not having access to that kasi na
Hindi
ano
niya
ko lang
trabaho maging
Oh,
historical
hindi,
or
hindi niya,
historian.
oo. Kasi trabaho ko yun. Oo, trabaho ko yun. So ngayon na nahanap na natin yun, yung files na yun, baka sana in the future, hindi to trabaho ni Direct Gerald. In the future, iba na yung representation natin of yung scene na yun, right? But this just goes to show na hindi mali yung Quezon, kundi we're all finding out more together as a community about yung kamalian nung sinasabi ng mga Amerikano tungkol sa atin.
Absolutely. I mean, you are again. This is not to flatter you, but this is just a fact. You're really at the cutting edge of historical research on this issue. Hindi lang dahil you're in a top university like Berkeley, but because kilala kita, talagang ano ka iconoclast ka eh. Parati ka naghahanap ng ways to question yung received
Ay,
wisdom.
hindi,
And
bro, ano lang
luckily,
yun,
there's an
hindi,
evidence. No,
hindi, bro,
evidence-based naman eh.
ano lang yun, I didn't go into the archive thinking na babaliktarin ko yung knowledge natin about the Wood Forbes report. Nakita ko lang, kasi, bro, ano siya, hindi siya indexed. Yung iba punet, yung iba nakalat. Sabi ko, tingnan, parang Ambito Campus style. Ano to? 'Di ba? Parang don't assume na ano yan, na luma na yan. Assume na wala pang nakakabasa niyan. So tinignan ko, shit. Parang inaamin nila na yung mga Amerikano ang
Serendipitous
pinaka-corrupt.
yung
Oo.
discovery mo.
Oo.
But let's be honest, bro. I'm sure when you set on this book, you were like trying to make some interesting argument, right? I mean, there's a whole. Why should you write a book, right? Kung you're not making a special, interesting art. I'm not saying that
Mm.
polluted your methodology. I'm just
Ah,
saying you had a hunch, and then evidence eventually emerged, diba? That caught.
Oo, kasi ang
Let's be
bias ko
honest.
naman is for industrial policy to begin with, 'di ba?
So
And yung lumalabas doon, magaling talaga si Quezon at saka si Osmeña in terms of industrial policy. Magaling yung policy nila. Ito yung problema sa isang sine, 'di ba? Kung ang galing ni Quezon at saka ni Osmeña is on the level of policy, industrial policy, economic thought, the building of industry, how do you represent that cinematically? Ako hindi ko alam actually. Hindi ko alam. So, kaya nga hindi ako nagrereklamo about yung Quezon film gano eh. Kasi yung gusto ko na angle kay Quezon at saka kay Osmeña, number one, konti pa lang yung nare-research natin tungkol doon. Pangalawa, even if there was a lot of research on that, how would we represent it cinematically? Hindi ako director eh. Hindi ko alam kung paano
yeah, you
gagawin.
could make it a parang vision thing, right? Like Japan, 'di ba? Ito yung time na rise of Japan, 'di ba? Japan beating the West in its own game. So
Mm.
kaya ng mga Hapon, kaya din natin 'yan. Thinking of the Ilustrados so parang you can create this kind of a dream-like moment whereby they're envisioning the Philippines being also titan of industry in Asia, the other tiger of
Mm.
Asia. Parang feeling ko kaya naman yan eh. And it
Mm.
could be very inspiring. I'm doing that kasi napanood ko yung mga, alam mo, there used to be itong channel na Asian movies. At napanood ko
Mm.
isang movie, Japanese movie siya about, kinonfront si MacArthur ng mga taga-Japanese MITI, yung kanilang Ministry of International Trade and Industry. At
Mm.
ano, magsusuicide na siya. Sabi niya, kung hindi mo papautangin ng Japan, magsusuicide ako sa harap mo.
Seryoso?
Yes, bro. So naging
Ganda nun ah.
dramatic yung story ng industrial policy at post-war reconstruction ng Japan. That was like work of a genius. If only I can remember any movie na yan. Pare,
Hayop yun ah.
sa sobrang na-shock si MacArthur, sabi niya, yeah, I think we should help these guys to get back kasi you don't want them as enemy again. So, sobrang,
Mm.
tas kumanta siya ng national anthem ng Japan, ready na siya mag-suicide. If you don't give this money to us, and then MacArthur his ideas changed. He said, these Japanese, you have to help them. You want them on our side with the impending Cold War. So, I've seen that dramatization of post-war economic recovery of Japan at least. So feeling ko naman
Napanood mo na ba
artistically
yung,
kaya.
napanood mo na ba yung Quezon, bro? Or
Hindi pa,
abroad
hindi
ka?
pa.
Ay, hindi mo
I'm
pa
still
napanood.
reading the reviews from both sides
Okay, okay.
bago ako mag-decide. So I'm doing it the reverse way. Kasi unfortunately, na-pollute na yung judgment because I'm just trying to be. And I found Manolo Quezon's intervention really brilliant in a sense that
Mm.
parang hindi niya pinasukan yung understandable emotional
Yes, yes, yes.
issues,
Yeah.
considering he's also from Quezon family. And then he
Yeah.
really took the moral high ground, but more importantly, the intellectual high ground. Like when I was reading Manolo Quezon again, um, I don't know, like I had the feeling when I was reading A Question of Heroes. Parang ganun yung feeling ko. It's like parang non-fiction journalism or history. It's
Mm.
so beautifully written. So kaya nga, I'm so glad we have people like Manol and others to do this
Mm.
so aesthetically, not only authoritatively. So I'm glad that you're also entering this debate kasi
Mm.
we want that, bro.
Mm.
Ayoko yung political history
Oo.
lang eh. Gusto ko aesthetic,
Oo.
intellectual history. So malaking pasasalamat ko sa. So you tell me, like, what is your read of the
Oo.
movie? Again, with no.
Pinasabi ko naman kay Direk Gerald to. Hindi directly kasi may kausap ako na isang taga TBA kagabi na katabi ata niya si Direk Gerald nung nagme-message kami. Sabi ko, pwede mo naman sabihin kay Direk. Pero kung di narinig ni Direk, I mean, I don't know kung nakikinig si Direk dito sa ano na to, pero magaling. So, magaling talaga. Ang interesting thing sa akin para sa Quezon is talaga naiintindihan ko yung both. Ito yung parang lumabas talaga yung pagkalibra ko. Na talaga naiintindihan ko talaga yung both sides na pinanggagalingan sila pareho. Si Ricky Avancenia, yung galit niya, yung defending his family, yung family honor, naiintindihan ko yun. Lolo niya yun eh. Tsaka negative naman talaga yung portrayal. Pero si Direk Gerald, naiintindihan ko rin because I think hindi lang naman cynicism yung goal ng film. The goal of the film is to say that there are intractable problems in Philippine society. And then I remember nung nagdebate kami ni Derek Gerald, I think over Luna, I think this was 6 years ago or something like that. Sabi ko, sana when Direct Gerald makes a film about Quezon that it becomes a Filipino House of Cards. Kung napanood niyo yung House of Cards, ito yung Netflix show na talagang napaka-corrupt ni Frank Underwood at mininiobra niya yung situation para siya yung maging presidente ng US, 'di ba? So sabi ko, I hope it's a Filipino House of Cards. So this is the reason why hindi ko mahusgahan yung film because that's precisely what it is. It's a Filipino House of Cards. Ang problema, 6 years ago, I didn't like Quezon. I thought he was a Frank Underwood. Now that I've done my research for this new book, medyo nag-soften na yung position ko kay Quezon. Kaya on the one hand, hindi ko talaga ma-judge yung sine because 6 years ago, that's the movie I would have made. But then I moved also. And so, as a result, I also understand yung galit ni Sir Ricky Avancenia. Kaya lumabas yung parang libro ko ba, Richard, na parang naintindihan ko lahat. Ewan ko na. Alam mo, usually, mas palaaway ako kaysa dito eh. Pero dito sa issue na to, parang lahat
Yeah,
lahat may tama pare. Lahat may tama. Lahat may pinanggagalingan. Pero masasabi natin
we needed this debate. No, we
magaling
needed this
talaga yung
debate.
yun yung isa pa, yung isa pa.
Kailangan natin yung debate na yan eh.
Hmm.
Kasi lalo
Yung
ngayon
isa pa
medyo
tama.
politically charged ang situation at kumaga
Oo.
naghahanap ng saan ba yung ugat ng corruption sa Pilipinas? Yun ang
Oo.
unang trapo,
Oo.
'di ba? Ganun 'yun eh. May ganun
Hmm.
siyang may tinge na ganun, may cadence na ganun ng debate. So
Oo.
ako, I really like it because what you're saying is that even if for the sake of argument sabihin natin trapo si Quezon, but he was in he was a great statesman in the making that could have made the Philippines next to Japan really the next industrial power because the myth of the Philippines was where we were the second most developed blah blah blah, but this is the
Hmm.
one area I agree with Lee Kuan Yew, that was a kind of an artificial second position. It was just an inheritance
Tama.
thing from US. It was not
Tama.
really endogenous. And my sense is Quezon could have built a truly Filipino industrial base, middle class, and growth similar to the Japanese, right? And there, I would have believed na pwede tayo talagang sustainably number two in Asia. We were never really a genuine number two, right? In fact, in
Uh,
terms of per capita, Singapore was always higher than us after World War II. Also, Malaysia, I look at some of the numbers. But yun nga eh, like, so basically the argument, mas
ganun ba,
relevant,
ganun ba, bro?
yeah, mas
Even
mataas
after
sila.
World
I
War
have an
II, lamang
argument
sa per capita sa
I have
atin?
an article on that, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Breakdown ng per capita. Singapore was way higher than us. Malaysia was also higher per capita. Kasi people are looking at just GDP numbers gross. They're not looking at per capita. I suspect even
Mm.
purchasing power parity were behind. So, kaya nga, I never also bought this idea ni Lee Kuan Yew na, I don't know, some mosquito infested backwater. No, Singapore was the Gibraltar of Asia, right? It was the
Oh,
jewel of
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
European
straight settlement.
maritime.
Oo.
Yeah. Singapore would have
Oo.
always been successful.
Malakas talaga Singapore. Oo.
Malakas talaga. But also Malaysia, right? And then especially with the
Oo.
discovery of oil. So, in short, I always had problem with
Meron
that
akong meron akong re-recommend ng mga na
piece.
libro sa mga tao. Nandito lang siya, pabilis lang siya.
Sure,
Mahirap
sure.
siya hanapin, pero one of the great foreign policy
Yes.
and historical
Yes,
thinkers
yes, yes, yes,
on
yes.
Southeast Asian studies. This yung start ito is really about the Strait Settlement, Singapore, in
Yep.
particular Singapore, as a
Nusantara.
site for cosmopolitanism in the late 19th century sa Pilipinas. Empire of the Seas by Takashi Shirish. Ganda.
Right.
Oh.
There's another newer book also with similar so about title na it's also about yung Nusantara, this kind of naval powers of Southeast Asia, which is I found it
Mm.
relevant in light of my South China Sea advocacy and all na bago
Mm.
natin pag-usapan ng China and Ming Dynasty and all of that. I'm sorry, tayo mga Southeast Asian were already dominant here. Forget
Yeah,
about Zhao's 40,000 years ago were dominant here. But
exactly, exactly.
exactly.
Jiao,
But going back to this, bro, no. I think the Quezon one napakamahalaga ito kasi babalik ulit ito dito sa ating I suspect no parang well-intentioned but unhelpful type of discourse around corruption, right? This kind of moralistic approach to politics that I feel dilutes our ability to analytically go to the real roots of the problem, which is
Mm.
we never built a strong state. We never had a strong industrial policy. We really never created strong foundation for sustained economic growth. And eventually that caught up with us. By 60s, we were in
Mm.
trouble. Then Marcos dictatorship. And since then, we're still struggling, trying to put things together. So can we go back to that? Kasi relevant yan in light of all of the debate right now about eto na, pakulungin yung mga trapo. Basically, it's not a witch hunt. You really have to go against after all of these corrupt people. But for me, they're more a symptom of a deeper problem rather than really the cause, 'di ba? So basically, your formulation, which I kind of try to articulate but I modified is hindi siya yung kung walang korap, walang mahirap. Kung walang
Ah.
kahirapan,
Tama,
walang
matagal ko nang i-try i-frame yung verbiage na yan, pero nakuha mo eh.
yeah,
Walang
although there was even a
kahirapan.
more provocative way of doing it, but gladly, medyo we refined it kasi sabi ko, makakancel na naman tayo dito.
Oo.
Mag-persona ng data na naman ako. So obviously, this is not
Ano, walang kahirapan,
kung walang
walang
kahirapan,
korap.
walang corruption or something like that. So
Ah, okay.
basically, I look at two data sets, right? The first data set is the least corrupt countries tend to be the richest countries, right? That's the first thing, right? Almost like ang lakas nung yung coefficient at saka yung at least yung correlation, right? And then logically it makes sense because pag rich, well paid lahat, di ba? Well paid yung police, and sabi mo nga, tama yung sinabi mo, you need money to build institutions. Ang hirap yung corruption kasi you have all of those institutions who are doing their jobs of making sure walang corruption, right? Temptation is not there, opportunities are not there, and punishments can be enforced. But the second one is, bakit Turkey, Thailand, Brazil, and Philippines have almost exact score on corruption index, CPI, but
Mm.
totally different economic profile. First of all, we're way poorer than all those three countries I mentioned. Turkey's per capita
Mm.
is more than twice us. Thailand is 60% higher than us. Brazil is somewhere in between Turkey and Thailand. So all of them are way richer than us. All of them have better diversified economies, much more manufacturing export driven. All of them, I would say, have a strong middle class that could theoretically be a foundation of a strong progressive government and all. At least the Brazilians got Lula. At least the Turks, the opposition is kind of putting something together, especially after Erdogan leaves the scene. But anyway, basically, the point is that if you look at these two data sets, countries who are similar to us in terms of corruption but way richer, and then practically all of the least corrupt countries tend to be the richest countries. Simple lang logical ano yan, implication yan eh. That corruption does not explain poverty. It's more like the other way around, right? That if you
Mm.
have underdevelopment, you create conditions for poverty.
Mm.
And therefore, kahit pakulong natin lahat ng mga kurakot, hindi mo pa rin sinsolve yung problema
Di tayo
natin.
yayaman.
Exactly. So, can we talk about that?
Merong isang article, 'di ba? Nabasa mo ba yung article ni former Yusek Nepo Malaluan sa Business
No,
World?
no, no. Please.
Pinapaliwanag niya
You
kung bakit
mentioned that to me.
mababa yung.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me.
So, 'di ba sabi niya mababa yung alam natin mababa yung pesa natin, 'di ba? Na yung learners natin sa high school at sa grade school. High school ba yun or grade school? Napakababa ng learning outcomes natin relative to other countries. Pero yung pinakita niya doon is actually hindi naman nakakagulat because yung rating natin in terms of education just matches kung ano yung GDP per capita natin. So, ang correlation doon, kung mas mataas yung GDP per capita mo, gagaling yung learners mo. So, ang conventional Filipino explanation kung bakit mahina yung learners natin is because corrupt tayo, inefficient tayo, therefore, bobo, in quotes, bobo yung mga estudyante natin. But the more reasonable explanation is, we're not rich. Therefore, we can't educate our learners well. Therefore, mababa yung score nila. And if we want to enhance our educational system, we need to get richer so that our GDP per capita increases. And as we know that as the GDP per capita increases, the scores increase also. So same thing even dun sa micro scale na yun on education. Basahin niyo yun, nasa Business World yun. Hanapin ko yung title.
Again, so yeah, absolutely. So may pagka-Kuznets curve, di ba? Like as
Oo.
incomes go higher, you have stronger middle class, stronger awareness on environmentalism, stronger checks and balances,
Mm.
stronger educational indicators. Now, obviously, having said that, it is also true na there were indicators, for instance, sa World Bank na our learning deficiency, right? Yung functional literacy natin is a bit lower than our level of development. So Indonesia, for instance, has a way better or less worse, way less worse.
Di sabi Yusek Nepo, at least dun sa PISA, overperform nga tayo relative to
Pero
our
PISA
GDP
yung
per
ginamit niya. I'm
capita.
talking about the World Bank. So, so
Ah,
this is where I'm making concession dun sa mga
mm,
kaibigan natin
mm,
na anti-corruption, which by the way, we 100% support them.
mm.
Ang point lang natin is that you're still not getting down to the root causes, right? Parang it's not mutually exclusive. Let's fight against corruption, but let's not stop at that level, right? I am
Mm.
willing to accept. I mean, this was the debate after Achimoglu and all won the Nobel Prize, which is the whole debate about inclusive institution and all of that. It's a very mystified way of understanding. It's like, yeah, but let's not forget also many Western countries became rich because of colonialism and because of, extraction and all of that. So
Oh,
yeah, they were inclusive at home, but they were doing horrible things abroad, bringing in the money, right? But anyway, one of the great arguments, counter arguments, was from Chinese economists, Chinese American economists, who argued that well, China is super corrupt country now, and yet it's the most successful capitalist expansion in human history. It's just like US in the 19th century Gilded Age, except even more efficient because there are different types of corruption. So, for instance, access corruption is the kind of corruption whereby businesses pay money to government officials so that they can open business and create jobs and economic growth, right? That corruption is not as destructive, although morally unethical, than let's say in corruption na Nepo kids, nag-Michelin star, 3-star abroad, yung pera lumabas sa bansa. So I'm willing to agree that perhaps the kind of corruption we're seeing with this kind of
na pare,
discount.
hindi ako 'yun ha. Hindi ako 'yun ha. Ang aking luho, ginagamit ko ang sarili kong nag-iipon ako bilang isang guro at pag matagal na ako nakaipon, pag birthday ko, kakain ako ng
Yeah, I'm
two-star or three.
sorry. Hindi ikaw ang tinatamaan ko. I'm so sorry. Like, I
Hindi,
definitely,
hindi.
yeah. But you're well earned, bro. And I'm sure you're helping the Mexican economy when you fly there to have your, your Michelin star. I'm sure the Mexican friends are happy. No, but going back dito so parang, we have a lot of inefficient corruption, right? It goes to Swiss bank accounts, I think it goes to Cayman Islands, whatever. Agree ako dyan. But nevertheless, ang point ko is, so how do you best fight against that even worse kind of corruption? Again, you need strong institutions, strong middle class, strong political parties. And for that, you still need economic growth. In fact, for me, if you look at it, yung dahilan na marami sa atin pwede mag-dedicate ng so much time and effort, right, to fight corruption and fight for good governance is because naging middle class tayo. I'll be
Mm.
honest, like if you and I we're just surviving on a daily basis. I don't think we would have time to even do this podcast, right?
Eh,
Siguro ngayon, this is your sixth class. I mean, let's be honest, there are teachers who have to teach 6, 7 classes a day. I know that. Like, ang dami
Oh,
mong
bro. Oh,
it's
oh.
hard.
Kung wala ako in an R1 university dito sa US, itong oras na nasa opisina ako by the way. Pero kung wala ako in an R1, kung nasa Pilipinas, so, hindi ako nasa opisina ako, nasa classroom ako ngayon.
And that means less time to invest in civil society work, in these kinds of work we do, right? So, kumbaga, because hindi naman tayo mayaman, but because we're middle class enough, we have, so even in our own life, we can see the effect. If umangat ka ng konti, mas marami kang time para mag-invest sa civic duties mo. I'm not saying it's mutually exclusive, but it's just
Mm.
a reality, as you said. I think everyone love your quotas. I mean, you need money to build institutions. Do you want to build on that argument?
Yeah, so well, una, naalala ko, dati nag-aaral ako ng liberalismo. Ano pala yung root word ng liberalismo? Liber or freedom? So to have the beneficence of a liberal, you need to have a certain level of freedom. Otherwise, you only care about your own sustenance, di ba? Uh, so the moment you're liberated from kung I mean medyo ba do yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the moment you're liberated from yung lower needs of sustenance, that's the moment you're able to give back to society. And sabi nga ni Aristotle, there's a level of wealth that allows people to contribute to their city, and
Leisure.
if they
The
do
Greeks
so,
call it leisure, yeah.
leisure, and then kung ano siya, kung malaki siya because you've dedicated so much, Aristotle calls it magnificence, the virtue of magnificence, 'di ba? So it starts with leisure but it can actually become magnificent. Ang galing nun, Richard, 'di ba? Parang naglilibang ka lang, but you realize that you're free enough para maglibang, and
100%.
then you become so dedicated to your people, your city, that it becomes magnificence. Dahil nasanay ka. Because that's the virtue kay Aristotle, ba? Nasasanay ka magbigay, ginagawa mo ng ginagawa until the next thing you know, you are magnificent. Your city is magnificent. Right? It's very, it's classic Aristotelianism. Um, so on an individual level, you need money. That just shows that on an individual level, you do need money to get rid of corruption. But on an institutional level, you need money also because the ombudsman needs a huge budget to be effective. Diba? Kailangan maraming investigador. Kailangan really paid well. I mean, isipin mo na lang, yung CHR natin, which is actually human rights violations is a kind of corruption, right? Ay, si Chito Gascon, when he was the chair of the Commission on Human Rights, ilan lang yung investigador niya, lima, anim, alam mo yon. Tapos parang ang hirap pa niya mag-recruit from the top law schools. Minsan kailangan estudyante or hindi pa tapos ng law degree yung kanyang kukunin kasi yun lang yung kaya niyang ibayad, 'di ba? So, a lot of us look, alam ko idol mo rin si Chito, the late Chito Gascon, 'di ba? Idol ko yun. But even somebody as great as the late great Chito Gascon, how much can you do? Like as a chair of Commission on Human Rights, kung ganun lang yung meron ka, ganun lang yung available to you. So human rights ganun. But you can imagine something similar happening to the ombudsman as well, 'di ba? Like alam ko, maabilidad si Boying Rimulya, but it's going to be so much more powerful kung talagang napakayaman yan at lahat ng mga abogado niya really well compensated para hindi sila pwedeng suhulan. Napaka-importante niyan sa role ng ombudsman, 'di ba? Because kunwari, like marami kang investigador sa ombudsman, pero mahirap kasi konti lang yung bayad sa kanila, nasuhulan sila. Then they're not able to do their job. But if you're really able to invest in that, you pay them really well, mas mahirap silang suhulan, mas marami ka pang tao, mas efficient yung trabaho mo, then anti-corruption becomes really effective.
And you're up against people who can hire an entire Fortune firm, right? Like look at Sara.
Oo, yun nga eh. Oo.
Let's not forget, these people, yung kalaban dito, they can hire the best top law firms in the country. In fact, mahabang discussion. I think, uh, Congressman Jokno back in the day said something like, yun yung deep state natin. Ito yung mga powerful law firms, lawyers, judges, na, basically help perpetuate a certain system, no? Even after the fall of the Marcos dictatorship. But that's a long conversation I want to park for now. Pero yun nga, balikan natin yan. So, but yun nga bro, like, ang problema is whenever you approach it this way, sasabi ng tao, either immoral ka or parang, parang ano parang elitista. Kaya nga sabi ko, tatlo yung competing narrative sa Philippines, diba? The
Oh, please go
dominant
through that again.
narrative is
That's really great.
Dutertismo, right? I
Mm.
would still say the dominant radical narrative is still Dutertismo. Basically, the idea is that
Lungkot.
the system is broken, rotten. You just need a strong man savior. Get rid of it, right? So Duterte maybe didn't work. Let's try Sara. Let's try Sara. I don't think mawawala yun. We always have that temptation, the strong man temptation, since Quezon, if not Aguinaldo and earlier, right? But the second one is, I would say, the reformed version of basically liberalismo, which is this idea that hindi talagang cause ng problema natin itong disinformation. Basically, we're manipulated to follow the first narrative, right? So if we
Mm.
get down to that, we'll just go back to the days of paradise and the trouble is gone. And then the third narrative, which I support, is what, Ronald Llamas, Kiko D, Cardinal David, which is saying, no, no, no. We have to be compassionate to the pool, to folks. Hindi totoo na people are just manipulated. They have dignity, they have agency, etc. At the same time, if we want to fight against corruption, let's do it through the rule of law and institutions, which is where papasok tayo, which is exactly. First of all, let's not blame voters for everything that goes wrong. Lahat naman tayo in some ways we have
Oo.
failed. Second, let's do this through institutions. Hindi yung
Mm.
Duterte style, patayin lahat ng mga kurakot na
Oo.
yan, paano na yan. Like, again, you're going back basically to the Duterte
Oo.
kind of
Oo.
style of mindset eh. So this is where, parang kumbaga, my contribution wants to be refining the third narrative, the third
Mm.
force here. And I think that's where we're gonna have some problem because I think some of our friends feel that um corruption is really the end all be all. Like if you deal with that, everything else will follow. And it looks like that's where uh we might have some challenge, right? Kasi sobrang visceral eh na hindi
Oo.
mayaman ng Pilipinas, itong mga kurakot ng problema eh, 'di ba? But in fact, people realize we're actually a low per capita income country. Even if inequality was low, we're still not a very productive country dahil we didn't build strong foundations of the economy. Yung idea ng
Oo.
GDP per capita, hindi pa rin nagagets ng tao. Mahirap talaga tayong bansa.
Um,
We still have to become a
Mayaman tayo in the aggregate, which allows us some geopolitical power and investment power because malaki yung merkado. Pero pag hinati mo na sa per person, maliit na.
well, because we only export like what low added value products, right? We don't export cars, we don't export electronics. Kaya ang point natin is if you pero alam mo bro, feeling ko may pag-asa itong industrial policy advocacy natin if we can make it more life world relatable. 'Di ba yung sinabi mo, ano yung vision dapat sa movie ni Quezon? Let's imagine that. Ako, I appeal to
Yeah, help me, help me.
pride.
Hindi ko ma-imagine. Nung nanonood ako, trinay ko, hindi ko magawa eh.
Yun nga,
Sige
like
nga, sige nga.
there should, remember we discussed VinFast? Like
Okay.
parang biglang may Southeast Asian pride tayo, parang biglang vicariously I'm proud to be ASEAN. Like, oh my God, we have an ASEAN car competing electric. Like, I think that's something we can work on. In the same way with Pinoy pride on food. I think industry, like you could see how Filipinos are proud when they see Jollibee abroad or San Miguel beer. Or feeling ko there's something there we can work on at the emotional level without going to economies of scale and industrial strategy and all of those technical terms. Feeling ko yun ang dapat role natin, bro. How do we make this industrial policy, economic development, recommendations natin, how can we make it relatable? Yun ang inisip ko nga eh. Feeling ko we have still some work to do on that.
Mm-mm. And then, sabi nga ni Jesus Felipe, 'di ba? It's never too late. Interesting yung interview niya because sabi nga ni Jesus na in certain respects, medyo napag-iwanan na talaga tayo, naunahan na tayo, 'di ba? Hindi na natin mapapalitan 'yon. Na baka mahirap nang pumasok sa certain markets like baby cars kasi sobrang tambak na tayo, 'di ba? But it's never too late and I was very interested in how and in his examples. Yung examples are actually very modest eh. Like he said, revive the Marikina shoe industry. Hindi ko akalain na doon magsisimula si Jesus ha, but actually, naisip ko nga, oh nga naman, doon sa maliit, di ba? Parang while we're talking cars now, but like you don't actually, maybe you don't start with cars, maybe you start with something as modest as the Marikina shoe industry and then compete with Ferragamo.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean,
Hmm.
we're fashionable Latin style people. I mean, he talks about he's from Spain, right? So you understand Italy, Spain. Diyan naman nagsisimula yung mga countries na yan.
Uh,
I mean, Zara doesn't say it's Spanish, but it's actually a Spanish company. And the most successful fast fashion, which is almost high fashion in terms of its actual design and style, no? And Spain is gaining a lot because of the success of Zara. Is Bershka also? I mean, like there are a couple of or Mango, whatever. So Spain is making a lot of money on that front. Like that's okay naman. Like ako, I wrote a piece on that, drawing on Danny Roderick, no? I mean, the Turks are
mm,
my favorite economists because they really know how to get this wrong, right? And in a way, also how to get it right kung hindi ka Western first world country, di ba?
mm,
Sabi ni Danny Roderick, yung mga nagagawa sa 20th century, hindi na natin magawa for a lot of reasons. So, what we should do is, sabi niya, maghanap ka ng niche. Don't go
mm,
for like we want to build best cars electric. No, maghanap ka ng one area na high value added and then focus ka lang dyan. So my suggestion
mm,
for instance is semiconductors.
Ah,
If we can
oo.
move up the ladder there, especially I heard the Taiwanese TSMC is making some foray into the Philippines. I come from Baguio, Texas Instrument has been there for a long time. So we do some relatively sophisticated intermediate goods. So feeling ko like semiconductors and maybe electric car battery, we can a little bit work on it.
Bro, kung ganyan,
Ah,
di
ganon,
ang kailangan
niche.
nating investment, hindi ba, number one, pababain yung presyo ng kuryente sa Pilipinas para
So
magmura
again,
yung
explanations that
electric.
kasama sa industrial strategy is subsidizing utility costs and also infrastructure spending and all of that. Like one reason why China is so good in industries and manufacturing is that everything is subsidized, including yung dorm ng mga engineers nila, including
Mm.
education. Like everything is subsidized. Kaya nga
Yeah.
ang mura for Chinese companies to make really world-class cars. I mean,
Oo.
you have tried BYD. I'm trying BYD. Like it's really good. When the Germans
Si
told
Mami, si Mami bumili ng BYD.
it's
It's
a
a joy
very good
driving her
car. It's a
BYD.
really, really good
Oo.
car. I mean, I of course galit tayo sa China and West Philippines Sea, given yan, but it's so much better than Tesla and like 60% of the cost. It's really
Ah,
hard.
baduy ng Tesla. Oh,
But do
baduy ng
talaga. And
Tesla.
then like,
Oh.
but yun ang point ko, like, there's a reason why China is doing so well because everything's subsidized. And if people don't believe me, watch the interview I did with former energy secretary and the current environment secretary, right? Dun sa show ko, where we talk about why the utility costs are very high. And he openly says, Lotilia, no? He openly says, hindi. Actually, yung production cost ng electricity is competitive. Pero yung ibang bansa, mas mura kasi subsidized sa kanila. Tayo hindi. And then he stopped there. He didn't go to the next level, which tells you
Okay.
may
Okay.
gap tayo in terms of policy and thinking. And then
Ah,
si Ronald
ah,
sabi niya, syempre, aboitis yan eh. Dati nag-work sa aboitis.
yeah.
I don't want to get into that.
Oy, wag naman, wag. Si Popo is really great, ah. He's a kind
Very
of
smart.
renaissance man. He
He's very
knows
smart.
history, he has an amazing map collection. He reads our work, ah. Si Secretary Lotilla he's of the old school, parang 1950s bureaucrat, renaissance man turned cabinet official. He reminds me of those people, mga CPR types.
And he's one of the few people who made me shut up. Like, it's like I
Oh.
was just, I'm so sorry, but like, yung
So bro,
ADHD ko
so
nawala.
bro, yun nga sabi ng mga, kunwari sinasabi ng mga tao, halimbawa, I have to go in 10 minutes kasi may meeting ako. Pero, di ba sinasabi ng mga tao, pero yung mga innovations na pinopropose ni Richard, how do we move them through kung merong corruption? And I'm like, very simple. Like for example, I proposed this also, but it was very clear sa conversation with Jesus Felipe also, yung central bank, reform the central bank. You don't need to get rid of corruption to reform the central bank. Magpasa ka ng batas. They're doing this in Indonesia, by the way. They're proposing this in Indonesia. Reintroducing the dual mandate to the central bank. Kasi yung Indonesian Central Bank is single mandate like ours. Pero ngayon may nakatable na bill sa Indonesia, baka pumasa na nga to reintroduce the double mandate. Ano yung double mandate? Yung single mandate central bank, isa lang ang layunin niya, control inflation. But most central banks in places nagkaroon ng development, may other duty yung central bank, palaguin yung ekonomiya. Development. So, ngayon, for example, yung central bank natin, very conservative in terms of interest rates, very conservative in terms of the price of the peso. And if you, sabi nga rin ni Professor Felipe, di ba, if you ask our central bankers, bakit nyo ginagawa yun? Gayong, like, kung sobrang conservative kayo, baka hindi lumago yung ekonomiya, baka may mga wala ng trabaho, sasabihin nila, yun yung trabaho namin eh. Kasi mandato ng central bank, anti-inflation only, single mandate, di ba? So, hindi nila kasalanan. Ano may kasalanan? Batas yung may kasalanan. So, what do you do? Tomorrow, you propose a bill to reform the BSP law to reintroduce the dual mandate. By the way, in 1949, when we had the central bank, dual mandate yan. Noong panahon ni Marcos, dual mandate din yan. Nagsimula lang tong single mandate ban central bank noong 1993. This is very new relative to our central banking history. It's very, very easy to reverse.
It's
So that's
arbitrary.
something we can do tomorrow, right? Without changing the corruption landscape. Very
And they're
simple.
well paid. So
Oh.
central bank are very well paid. So there's no worry about competence and corruption. They're really well paid. Just make them do it better. I have a couple of colleagues here who are from Central Bank of Indonesia, Russia, Colombia, Mexico, Switzerland. So I'm gonna ask them also on these issues. I'm looking forward to discussions on those issues. I know you have to go. So I'm gonna just bring in itong last parts na very important. Before I ask you a little bit about Mamdani, who could soon become the youngest ever mayor of New York, probably the most progressive, if not radical mayor of any major city. So we got Sadiq Khan here in London, and then we're gonna get Mamdani in New York. Like, what a world! It's a fascinating world. I just want to ask you, bro. Naniwala ka ba na poorest senator talaga si Cheese Escudero. Poorer than Risa Ontiveros. Talagang tumaas ang kilay ko. Like,
Yeah,
who's
Senator. I
poorer than
actually,
Risa?
so dito sa Berkeley, tinignan ko, I'm not rich enough to own a house here, so I'm renting. Okay. So hindi ako ganun, hindi ako, sabi ko sa'yo, na-guilty na ako doon sa sinabi, the way I opened, parang yaman-yaman, gumagasta in these meals.
Hindi, kaya nga
Pinag-iipunan
hindi
ko
ka
yon at
mayaman eh.
pinag-iipunan ko yon at yun lang ang luho ko. Wala ako iba ganong luho. Okay, hindi bahay, hindi ganyan. Pero anyway, tinignan ko yung bahay dito. Magkano bahay dito sa amin? Kung bibili ka, 1.2 US dollars, ganyan. Three-bedroom house, maliit dito sa amin. Magkano yung total wealth ni Chis Escudero? In dollars, roughly 280,000 US dollars.
Mga
So,
ganun yan.
siguro yung wealth niya, kung paniniwalaan natin yon, down payment lang yon sa bahay dito sa amin, sa Berkeley. Which begs the question, sobrang yaman ba ng mga tao sa Berkeley? Yes, mayaman sila. But yung mga kapitbahay ko, yung mga singsing nila,
I've
hindi
seen them.
kapareho ng singsing ni... Yung mga kapitbahay ko na hindi umuupa, na sila may... Kasi alam ko yung mga
Yeah.
kapitbahay ko, may-ari talaga
We've
sila ng
gone
bahay
around
nila. So, mas
Berkeley. Yeah.
mayaman sila sa akin. Pero tinitignan ko yung mga singsing nila, they are at least three times rich. If Chis Escudero is to be believed, my neighbor should be three times richer than Chis Escudero. Three times, Richard, ah. Yung mga singsing nila, wala sa kalingkingan ng singsing ni Hart. Yung kotse nila, uh, like Model Y Tesla, not the
Yeah.
cheapest car, but it's
Yeah, but
not
base, yeah,
not
mid.
the most
Medyo
expensive
mid.
car, 'di ba? Oh. Tsaka kung bumili sila ng wine, hindi 30,000. Yung wine shop namin, alam ko kasi yung cork, yung wines doon, pumasok na ako doon eh. Sinubukan akong bumili, wala akong nabili, Richard. Kasi inoferan ako ng 30,000. Sabi ko, hindi.
Jesus. Mukha kang
I
mayaman
just,
kasi.
I just say, sir, I want a Cote du. I knew what I wanted. I went in, sabi sa akin ng cork manager, welcome to our playground. Yes. Oh, welcome to our playground. Sabi ko, I want a modest Cote d'Ivoire or a Beaujolais. I'm looking at around, ito yung budget ko, 5,000 pinakamahal. Sir, do you want a Bordeaux? No, I don't want a Bordeaux. I hate Bordeaux. Mag, oh, sir, 30,000 for a Bordeaux. Fuck that. I would never I would never drink a Bordeaux, even if it were offered to me, because that's for douchebags and it tastes like chemicals. Two, I'm not paying 30,000 for something that tastes like chemicals. So anyway, yun ang
Tambay mo pa.
bino, yun ang bino ni Cheese Escudero. Minimum 30,000 kasi dun siya sa Cork, di ba? Yung mga kapitbahay ko who according to that list are supposedly three times richer than Cheese Escudero. They don't drink that wine. I know what they drink. They drink, yeah, the Cote d'Ivoire I was looking for. That's like 5,000 pesos max.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
compared to the 30,000.
Wala pang
So,
$100 yan.
you make of that what you will, right? It's 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 very strange.
And then
Oh,
last part na ito, no. What do you think about the incoming new mayor of New York, the greatest city in the world, the most amazing?
yung mga kaibigan ko New Yorker, sobrang excited ah. Tsaka yung mga kaibigan ko New Yorker, yung ilan doon, mga parang
Wild, bro. A
may
millennial.
mga iba, mga mayaman na Pilipino na nasa New York, 'di ba? So you would expect na parang merong class
Galing
aversion
sila.
to someone with a socialist message. No, they love Mandani. Big, and I think meron talagang cross-class appeal si Mandani na nakaka-inspire, bro. So,
May nagsabi sa akin,
si
dapat
Vico.
kayahin mo siya, be so nice and smile all the time.
Oo
It
nga
works.
eh. Oo,
Actually,
oo.
it works, no? Tama ka. Like,
Sobrang light. Sobrang ano.
gaan sa puso, no? Like, that
Oo.
guy is amazing. And we may disagree.
Sobrang breezy. Oo.
Actually, the guy is amazing and there's so much to learn from him. So wala kang cheese imitation or tulfan.
Dapat pala nung pumunta, guys, ngayon hindi ko pa pala ngayon ko lang pala nakwento ko sa yung Cork, grabing experience ko doon, inis na inis ako. Guys, ito yung sinasabi ko. This is what I mean by populist elitist. So for example, like, hindi porket mahal, maganda. In fact, these people who spend on sobrang mahal, you make them look stupid by
Trashy.
telling them that actually my tastes are more cultivated, but I spend less money. That is the ultimate way to out elitista these people, make them look stupid, while at the same time not really being elitist because I'm not spending as much. So for example, I opened this by saying like, like Pujol, two-star, Michelin star is stupid. I prefer Esquina Común, one star cheaper, half the price, better food. You go to Cork, guys, you go to Cork and you ask them for grower champagne or nice Morgon, organic Morgon from Beaujolais. They won't have it because they're stupid. Because they would rather charge you 30,000 for a Bordeaux. And who falls for that stupidity? Chis Escudero and Heart Evangelista.
New
If you
Rich.
wanna be with that company, go ahead. Yeah, you spend stupid amounts of money. Wala ka pang class. And I wanna end there. I wanna end
Well,
there.
on that very encouraging, bro, you have to make a new vlog series like Old
Uh,
Rich na hindi mayaman. Like how to be not mayaman but have old rich taste. Kasi di ba the old rich
yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
hindi mahal
Yeah.
yung gusto nila. Like it's
Hindi.
just right
Oo,
enough, yung
oo,
perfect
oo.
Goldilocks level. So,
Yeah, a Morgon is exactly like a Morgon, a beautiful Morgon, not 30,000 pesos. But it's good enough, like 5,000 special occasion, beautiful wine. I found it in Makati, by the way. If you find Marcel Lapierre Morgon in Makati, I found it once. I think it's 5,000, 6,000. Not cheap, but it's not cheese Escudero 30,000. That's
alam mo,
nice. That's nice.
Marites, hindi ko alam pala yun ang gusto niya. I'm sorry, like
That's
another
nice. That's nice. Marcela P. Morgon, if you find it in Makati, buy it for a special occasion. Drink it, enjoy it. And you're cooler than cheese. I promise.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a high bar, but very attainable. But
Uh,
definitely,
uh,
let's do like a lifestyle culture series next
uh,
time once back in
uh,
Manila, God willing. Talk to you soon. Have
okay.
a lovely day.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, bro, for making time.
Salamat. Okay. Thank you.
God
Bye-bye.
bless.
Thank you.
Ingat.
Bye.